Good morning. The court is going to take up the next case, cause number C200142CPS, in the interest of Cheyenne Rose Stanczyk, a child. Apologize for delay in getting started today. The hearing is being conducted pursuant to emergency orders of the Texas Supreme Court via Zoom video conference. The hearing set today is a permanency hearing and pretrial, and there's also a hearing on a motion to reconsider visitation filed by the respondent father in the case. There is also a motion for the court to confer with the child in the case, which the court has granted, and I'll take up that matter in a moment. If I didn't say so earlier, the hearing today is being conducted pursuant to emergency orders of the Texas Supreme Court via Zoom video conference. Participating in the hearing today on behalf of the department is caseworker Cammie Bailey and managing attorney Amy Lurs. The mother of the child is Crystal Zabecki, and I don't believe she's on my screen at this point. I'll confirm that in just a moment. Emily Martinez is present on behalf of Jessica Skinner, Ms. Zabecki's court-appointed attorney ad litem. The father of the child is Anthony Stanczyk, and he is participating in the hearing today with his attorney of record, James Sadler. The attorney ad litem for Cheyenne is Marciela Mendoza, and Ms. Mendoza is participating in the hearing today. The CASA guardian ad litem representatives for Cheyenne are Kathy Love and Amanda Hendrick, and they are both participating in the hearing today. Let me back up. I'm mistaken. Crystal Zabecki is the mother of the child that is participating in the hearing. I just saw her on my screen. Thank you. I believe the child who, Cheyenne, is also participating on our hearing, and I'll confirm that in just a moment. And also participating in the hearing today is Rosemary Lindley, who I understand to be the paternal grandmother of the child. And then make sure I don't have anybody else. I see under the name Isabel Benencourt, two ladies. Could y'all identify yourselves, just so I believe one of them is Cheyenne, but I just didn't confirm who all is there.
Yes, my name's Isabella, and I'm Cheyenne's therapist.
Okay, thank you. All right, and okay. As I indicated earlier, the attorney ad litem for Cheyenne had filed a motion for the court to confer with Cheyenne prior to commencement of the hearing pursuant to section 153.009 of the Texas Family Code. The court is going to take up that motion first. I would propose to confer in chambers with the child and Ms. Mendoza and the CASA guardian ad litem representatives. A record of that conference will be made by the court reporter as required by the Texas Family Code. Are there any matters we need to address before recess to confer with the child? Anyone?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Benencourt, technically when we have the conference, I'll have asked you to step out for a few minutes while I confer with Cheyenne and her attorney and the CASAs, and then I'll ask her to come get you and have you come back in once we're through conferring. So I'm going to send an invitation to y'all and to the ad litems to join me in a breakout room, and you'll need to click on that link to go in there. If the rest of you will stand by, I'm going to set that up now, and then we'll be back in shortly. You'll stand by. Thank you. All right, to the CASA representatives, Ms. Mendoza and let's see, Ms. Drake, you should be getting an invitation to join that breakout room. If you'll click on that link and go in there, I'll be joining you in there in just a few minutes. All right, the rest of y'all just stand by for a few minutes. We'll take a short recess while I have this conference, and then we'll resume the hearing in just a few moments. Thank you. If y'all stand by, I'm going to bring other participants back in for now. All right, I believe everybody that was previously in the conference remains in the conference at this point. The court has finished conferring with Cheyenne. Record was made of that by the court reporter. If any of the attorneys or parties in the case wish to request a copy of that, the transcript of that conference, you can contact Ms. April Drake, our court reporter, and request that she transcribe that. With that, I'm going to take up the hearing now on, I believe, as I indicated before, this permanency hearing and also a hearing relating to visitation by the father presents his motion. And so we're going to take that up now. I'm going to ask Ms. Becky, Ms. Lindley, Ms. Hendrick, Mr. Stanczyk. Cheyenne's already been sworn in, Ms. Benincourt, Ms. Bailey, Ms. Love. If each of you could raise your right hands, please. Each of you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give today before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do, yes, sir.
All right, if we're ready to proceed with the hearing, I'll allow the department to proceed with his witnesses first, but I'd also ask, as part of your presentation of witnesses, if you have evidence relating to the motion filed by Mr. Stanczyk about visitation, I'd ask you to also address that as well.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I guess I would like to start off first off is that department did comply with the order, and we filed your previous order and filed with the court a written recommendation from the child's therapist. We'd asked the court to take judicial notice that we did do that. Additionally, Your Honor, the father did, I think it's filed with the court, take steps to comply with your court order as far as his criminal background checks. Unfortunately, Arizona did not release that, and so it's my understanding he is now awaiting a response from an FBI background check to provide to the court in compliance with your previous orders. Your Honor, on a pretrial matter, at the conclusion of this hearing, the department will be asking that you find that there is good cause to extend this case from its current dismissal date. With that being said, Your Honor, we'd call Cammie Bailey to the stand.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Bailey, you haven't already? Yeah, go ahead and you can proceed. She's unmuted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bailey, let's start with the mother. Has the mother recently entered into an inpatient rehabilitation program?
Yes, ma'am. She entered treatment on 7/23.
Okay. And is this treatment plan part of her service plan?
Yes, she completed an assessment at ADAC in May, and she was referred to inpatient treatment.
With the current trial setting and dismissal date, is there sufficient time for the mother to be able to complete her services within the initial first year?
So with the treatment plan that the inpatient treatment, she should be completed with that from Serenity House August 19th. She has had time to complete her service plans that we've asked. She has not completed the requested service plans though.
And as in that service plan, is one of the major issues was her substance abuse?
Initially, no, it wasn't. But as the case progressed, we did have concerns of substance abuse. And once we've, started asking her to drug test for the department, and then she wouldn't drug tests when we asked, and then she did send that text message that one time asking for clean pee, and then she wouldn't go, and then she did go, and she did have negative drug tests throughout some of it, and then she did have an assessment, and that's when she qualified for inpatient treatment.
And in your training, have you learned that often when a parent is struggling with substance abuse, that interferes with their ability to make progress on the other services ordered by the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, as to the, has she been cooperative?
At times she has.
And then as to the father, can you update the court on where he's at?
So Mr. Stanczyk resides in Arizona. He is employed. He does keep in contact with the department. He doesn't participate in services since he is out of state. He has completed counseling virtually from Kathy here in Texas through the department, but he was unable to do a psychological evaluation because since he was residing out of Texas, he couldn't do it with the contract.
Has he been cooperative with the department?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the court your understanding of where his criminal history status is?
So we did have a special investigator from here in the department, Mr. Sanders. He did contact Arizona Police Department, and they informed him that he was a level 1 sex offender. And they explained to him that what that meant is he does need to register yearly. He does need to update his address, but he doesn't have any restrictions. He can go where he wants to go. He's not on parole, probation. He's not restricted from being around any schools or his grandchildren or any children at all.
And then let's talk about the child. How is she doing in her therapy and her progress?
Cheyenne has done extremely better than she was doing in her previous placement. She's opened up more in therapy. She's able to talk through her emotions and her issues more. She does still have incidents with sexually acting out, but she is working on that. She's working through her Connect, where she gets more privileges. But she has not had any suicidal ideations or hospitalizations since she's been at Resource in Indianapolis.
And then has the department had an opportunity to review the recommendations from the child's therapist, Ms. Betancourt?
As far as what recommendation?
Child visitation with the father.
Yes, we have reviewed them.
And is the department unopposed to the recommendation by the counselor?
We're in agreement.
And she's present, the counselor is, so she can talk further about her recommendations, right?
Yes. The previous counselor is the one that made the recommendations, Christina Davis. Isabel is more of a newer counselor, but she and Christina discussed them as well. And you can ask her more about that.
Anything else you'd like to let the court know about the child?
No, ma'am.
And currently is the permanency plan still termination?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell the court, has there been any progress on identifying a relative for placement?
We are still working on a home study for maternal aunt and uncle Nicole and Clay Mauser in Arizona.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Ms. Martinez, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Sadler, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Bailey, Ms. Lures asked you about, I think, the criminal background for Mr. Stanczyk, and you told her what at least you knew or the department found out regarding his registration and what was required of that. But have you also received from Mr. Stanczyk and also my office a criminal background history that we've obtained privately related to Mr. Stanczyk?
Yes, sir, we have.
Okay. And are you aware that Mr. Stanczyk had some difficulties with obtaining that through the state of Arizona initially?
Yes, sir. He has kept me up to date on all that.
Okay. And so is it your understanding that he's been diligently trying to obtain that, but the Arizona Department of Public Safety, in which he initially requested that information, basically has told him they're not going to provide it to him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it also your understanding now that or Mr. Stanczyk, along with help from my office, is trying to obtain that through the FBI at this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the criminal background check that you received from my office, that was obtained privately, did that provide any information regarding his criminal background that gave the department any concern or raise any issues that you weren't previously aware of?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Ms. Zabecki, you said had recently entered treatment on July 23rd of this year. Was she scheduled to attend treatment at other dates? And if so, why did she not attend at those times?
So Ms. Becky did the ADAC assessment in May. She went to Journey Recovery May 24th, I believe. And then that Friday, she was admitted to Shannon Behavioral due to suicidal thoughts. At Shannon Behavioral, she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. When she was released, they said that she was not allowed to go to Journey Recovery due to her mental health issues. So we worked with Serenity House to be able to get her into Serenity House. So she was waiting for a bed. They finally told her she had a bed date of July 6th. She said that the department needed to take her because we wanted her to go to rehab. So I made myself available July 6th to take her. When July 6th came, I went by her residence to pick her up. I tried calling her. Her phone was disconnected. She didn't answer her door. I tried 2 different times that morning to get her. She didn't answer. So I did not take her on July 6th. She contacted me later that day and said that she had forgot she needed a COVID test, that she would find her way to Abilene. And then she contacted me and said that she had a bed date of July 22nd. And then on July 23rd, she said that she was there.
Okay. And you expect her to be out of treatment in August 19th of this year?
Yes, I talked to Serenity Home and they said that her release date would be August 19th.
Okay. Now, through this case, have you had regular contact with Miss Lindley, who is Mr. Stanczyk's mother and grandmother to Cheyenne?
Not throughout the case. After I got in contact with Mr. Stanczyk in December, after I found out he had relatives and everything, when we were looking into Miss Lindley as a placement option, that's when I got in contact with her and I stayed in contact with her regularly.
Okay. And you're aware that she's had regular contact with Cheyenne and recently through the supervision or under the supervision of her counselor, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand that as part of the motion Mr. Stanczyk brought, there's been a request that Miss Lindley have in-person visits, that the court allow her to have in-person visits with Cheyenne, again, under the supervision of her counselor. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And does the department have a position on whether or not that's appropriate for Cheyenne at this time?
We think it's appropriate. We were looking at her as a placement option for Cheyenne, which it was denied just due to Mr. Stanczyk living so close.
I'll pass the witness.
And thank you. See, Ms. Mendoza, any questions?
No questions, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Lurs, any additional questions?
Not from this witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, did you have another witness you want to call?
Your Honor, we'd like to call Ms. Betancourt to the stand.
All right, Ms. Benton-Court, I believe I previously swore you in, so you remain in the road. Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Betancourt, can you advise, have you reviewed the written recommendation for contact between the child and Mr. Stanczyk?
Yes. So I have reviewed it, and I reviewed it with Cheyenne as well.
And can you tell the court, do you think this would be in her best interest?
Yeah, it is my clinical recommendation that this would be something that Cheyenne can start doing.
Can you tell the court how you think it might be a benefit to her and her progress and her therapeutic progress?
So Cheyenne has asked about contact with dad, and I think it would just allow for another individual for the support system that Cheyenne needs in treatment.
Is there anything else you'd like the court to know about this youth?
Nope, not at the moment.
Thank you. Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, did you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Betancourt, it is already part of the court's file, but can you go through what that plan is briefly?
Yeah, so it states that Cheyenne and her father will start writing letters. That will be the first form of contact. And we'll say that it is for a month that they write letters. And then seeing how that goes, we would then move into therapist supervised phone calls with Cheyenne and her father. And throughout this whole process, we would assess how Cheyenne feels after each phone call, after each letter. The letters would be read by myself. Her letters and father's letters would be read before, sending them or giving them to Cheyenne. And throughout this process, letters can continue to be written between the two of them if that goes well. And then eventually we would begin family therapy with father biweekly with the therapist, Cheyenne, and the dad. And just focusing on building a relationship, a healthy relationship, and addressing positive communication skills between the two. And then the final kind of part would be to have supervised virtual visits with dad and Cheyenne, where they can just kind of continue to build the relationship that they have or that they will develop.
So you said you will screen the incoming letters from dad, is that correct?
Yes, so I will read them and then I will read the ones that Cheyenne sends dad.
And what exactly are you looking for in terms of allowing her to see them or not see them? Like what would you think is appropriate or inappropriate?
So just, any degrading or inappropriate comments about other family members, about mother, just in general, inappropriate comments made about different things like core. I would try to stir away from talking about core and what's happening, and just focusing on getting to know one another and building that relationship.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Thank you. Mr. Sadler, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Betancourt, under the plan, the communication plan that was filed with the court and that you just discussed with Ms. Martinez, the first period of the first section of that would be letters. And it says 1 to 2 letters should be written and received per month. Do you have any idea at this time how long that particular period 1 would last, or how many letters until they move to some sort of conversations via phone?
So I would say it kind of just depends on how things go, how the relationship is going. So I would start off with a month, seeing how it goes within that month, and then continuing if we need to continue just writing letters or if we're ready to move into phone calls. However, letters can, if the letter writing portion goes well, letters can be then continued to be written throughout the process. So it's just the first part of writing letters for that month would be to kind of address how things are going and if we need to stay more on writing letters or if we can move into phone calls. So it will kind of just depend also on Cheyenne and how she's feeling about the letter writing.
Okay, so that particular phase and then the additional phases that you have in the letter, whether or not they move to that additional communication that you've described is really going to be dependent on how those go, and will be up to you as her therapist whether or not that will be continued. Is that right?
Yeah. So I will check in with Cheyenne after receiving a letter and after sending a letter and seeing how she feels and just checking in with her about moving forward. So it will be a very collaborative approach for moving forward.
Okay. Now, Miss Lindley, who is Cheyenne's grandmother, has had contact with Cheyenne, supervised by you, correct?
Correct.
And those are phone calls that have been occurring.
Yes.
And how often are those phone calls occurring?
At least twice a week.
Right. And we've asked the court to allow Miss Lindley to visit Cheyenne in person. Do you have any objection, or do you believe that that's appropriate for Cheyenne at this time?
I believe that it's appropriate for Cheyenne at this time.
All right. And those visits, would those visits occur in your office along with you and Cheyenne?
So yeah, we'll start with supervised visits with Cheyenne and grandmother.
Okay. During your supervised time and hearing Miss Lindley and Cheyenne, have those conversations been appropriate?
Yes, they have been.
Okay. Have there been any issues of Miss Lindley not being appropriate or talking about things that she shouldn't be talking about?
No, there have not been any of those incidents.
All right. And have you had conversations with Miss Lindley without Cheyenne present regarding, how those things are going?
I have not. It's usually just with Cheyenne.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Mendesa, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Do you feel that the telephone visitations between my client and Miss Lindley have been beneficial to Cheyenne?
Yes, I believe it has been.
And in what ways?
So they're getting to know each other. They are very excited to talk to one another. Cheyenne, whenever we're in session, always wants to, she always wants to call grandma at the end. They spend a lot of time talking about their interest and just building a relationship. And so it seems to be a very healthy and positive relationship in Cheyenne's life right now.
No further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Ms. Lurs, any additional questions?
Just one, Ms. Betancourt, listening to what you have to say today, is it important or do you think it would be helpful to this child if the court orders that all the parties not talk about this case, but not talk about each other in any kind of derogatory manner? Would that be helpful to Cheyenne?
Yes, that would be helpful.
Thank you. No other questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Lurs, did you have any other witnesses?
Just briefly, Your Honor, CASA.
All right, Ms. Hendrick, I believe, probably will be the one. Is that correct? Okay. All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Ms. Hendrick, can you tell the court, first off, would you be in agreement with the father having contact with the child?
Yes, I would.
And is CASA, can you tell the court why you think this visitation would be in the child's best interest?
Because Cheyenne has expressed interest in wanting to know her father. She's also expressed the desire to have people in her life that are going to support her and be there for her, that she can count on. And I think that would be the most beneficial for her, just having individuals there that she can count on.
And then, do you have any other, in addition to the report that you've already filed, is there anything else you'd like the court to know today?
No, ma'am.
You're not past the witness.
Thank you. All right, any questions, Ms. Martinez,
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Sadler,
No, Your Honor.
and Ms. Mendoza?
No, Your Honor.
And thank you.
I have a question.
Any other question, any other witness from the department?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez, I think your client may have something you want to discuss. Do you need to visit with her for a minute before we proceed, or you want to call her as a witness, or?
Please, can I have a talk with her for maybe 3 minutes in a breakout room?
I can give you about 5 minutes. You'll stand by for just a second. I'll set that up. Ms. Zabecki, I'll send to you and Mrs. Martinez a breakout room invitation. You'll stand by for just a second. All right, y'all should be getting an invitation and doing that breakout room. I'll bring y'all back in. It's at 12:20. It's about 5 minutes from now. Y'all click on that link, please. All right, the rest of y'all will stand by. We'll take a short recess and we'll resume just here in a few moments. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go back on the record in C200142CPS. I believe all parties in council previously present remain present. Ms. Martinez, did you get a chance to confer with your client?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Do you have any witness you want to call?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Sadler, did you have any other witness you want to call?
Judge, I needed to ask Ms. Hendrick a couple of questions. I don't know, maybe I missed.
Oh, I'm sorry if I skipped you. I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead and ask Ms. Hendrick.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hendrick, as the CASA on this case, you've had multiple discussions with Cheyenne, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And have you talked to Ms. Betancourt, her counselor, about her progress and how she's doing?
I've talked with her very minimally at this point. I've mainly reached out to the previous counselor. I haven't reached out to Ms. Betancourt at this point.
Okay. Now, at our last hearing, there was a motion made by Mr. Stanczyk regarding visitation, and there was some testimony heard in that case. Do you remember that hearing?
Yes, sir.
And there was some concern at that time about the at least the information regarding Mr. Stanczyk's charge and whether or not everyone had information regarding that. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And since that time, have you as the CASA been able to at least review more fully some of the things surrounding that particular case?
I've been able to review the military appeals that coincided with it. We had tried to get information from Ms. Zabecki, but have been unable to at this point.
All right. And you've reviewed that, but your position, at least today, is that these limited contact under the supervision of the counselor will be in Cheyenne's benefit. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. All right, any other question for Ms. Hendricks? Thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Sadler, did you have any other witness you want to call?
Judge, I do not. Ms. Betancourt and Ms. Bailey were my only two witnesses regarding the issue on the motion that I filed.
Thank you. And anybody else want to be heard relating to the hearing today or the motion?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, the court is going to first continue the department as temporary managing conservator and approve the child to remain in the current placement. I will grant the motion filed by Mr. Standings to allow contact as outlined in the resource communication plan prepared by her therapist with the department to monitor that as we go forward, and also approve for the paternal grandmother to have contact, continuing to have contact as she has now, but also authorize in-person contact that can be facilitated as well. The motion was made by the department to extend the dismissal date in the case. It appears to me that we would probably not be ready to proceed to trial in October. Is there any objection to the court extending the dismissal date at this point? I think we're going to need some more time for Ms. Becky to complete her treatment program, for Cheyenne to go through her program, and also to review the increase in contact by the father and the grandmother. So it appears to me it might be appropriate, but I want to see if there's any objection. I know the department, I'm assuming, has no objection. Mr. Sadler, any objection?
Objection, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez?
No objection.
And Ms. Mendoza?
No objection, Judge.
And CASA?
No objection, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, then the court will also find extraordinary circumstances exist that it would be in the best interest of the child to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department, and that is necessitated by the extraordinary circumstances. The court will extend the dismissal date for the case, vacate the current trial set in October, and reset the trial for a later date to be announced by the court. Actually, I said October, I meant August, is when our trial is currently set, and reset the dismissal of the trial for a later date, and I'll set another permanency hearing as we go forward. I'm required to notify any parent in this type of case that because of the nature of these proceedings, your parental and custodial rights and duties to your children, or your child in this case, may be subject to restriction or even termination, and your progress under any plan of service will be reviewed at future hearings in this case. Cheyenne, you keep doing what you've been doing and take good care of yourself, okay? We'll try to get you where you want to be. Thank you. We'll be adjourned for today. Thank you.
Judge,
I'm sorry.
in your last order, you put in there that the parties not to discuss with the child the facts of this case. Do you want me to also order not talk about each other derogatorily?
Right. Well, part of the court standing orders here in Tom Green County is for parties not to speak derogatorily. I'll just be frank with you. If I get evidence that a party or somebody having contact with the child is speaking derogatorily regarding some other party in the case, they can expect that's not going to turn out well for them, and may result in their rights being restricted or stopped entirely as it relates to the child. That doesn't need to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.